Okay, what I'm going to do now is we're just going to go through the LET paper. So first thing we need to do is we need to put our name in. Then we have our list of things and do's and don'ts we can't do. Personal notepads, right, cannot be used. Do not remove any papers from the exam. Papers name and signature must be put in. If you don't, they won't mark it. And calculations must be units and calculations must be shown to frame full marks. Basically, if you don't put your formulas down and your amps and ohms and all that stuff on there, they won't allow or give you full marks. If we now have a look at this next one, we have the wiring rule book. AS3000 has to have the amendment 1 in there. The construction and demolition, that's only to answer 2 questions. AS3008, that has to be done for most of your cable car calculations. 4386 is just a couple, 1 or 2 questions, and same as electrical safety. So this one, 3008 and 3000 are the main 2 that you'll be using in the exam. Alright, you have a 15-minute reading time, which I'll show on the paperwork in a minute, and 2 hours to do the exam. Signature, alright, you must sign it on the end of the paper here too. Do that first thing when you actually do the paper. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, we're just going to move this to the side, and I'll take this next page away. So what I've done is organised just a little bit of a scribble pad just for you to have a look at. So the LET exam has got 15 minutes reading time. In that 15 minutes reading time, I would be putting to the assessor, can I highlight the questions I need to, and work your way through highlighting what you need to do. The next thing we move on to, which I'm going to brief and come back to this one, is we have another 50-minute window to do all the main questions that give you the bulk of your marks. All right, and what I'll do is I'll go from the simplest question, which is short circuit, down to cable selection. What I'll do is I'll talk about what you need to do in that 50 minutes, because that's where you have a starting point, from short circuit down to cable selection. The next lot of questions then I tell guys to go on to is visual faults. Visual faults, you can actually pick some of them up in your 20 or 15 minute reading time, but don't spend all your 15 minutes trying to look for faults. All right, you've got a 20-minute window to find 5. You need to find 5 faults. They're 3 marks each, and you've got 15 marks. That is an AS3000 book as well. So from in here where you use AS3000, here you use AS3000, and you use that to find your 5 visual faults. Usually you find a lot of your faults in sections 2, 5 and 7, all right? 5 for earthing, 7 for your emergency stuff, and 2 things for like marking of main switches and things like that. Then we go on to AS3000. We have 5 questions, all right? There's 5 questions at the very start of the paper. 20-minute window to do them as well. They're worth 4 marks each. Like I said, so moving from here, like coming back from here, from visual faults up to AS3000, 5 questions, there's a fair bit of bulk marks here, and you're using the same book. You're not digging around or making yourself look through other ones. So when you get to these ones, like construction and demolition and electrical safety, they're books we don't use all the time, but they've only got 1 or 2 questions in them. So I would be probably, like I said, start from the other ones where you don't need to worry about looking up stuff, and then you gradually just keep going down. You've got motor questions, you've got the electrical safety, and then you work your way down. But to me personally, the money's in this area here, the visual faults, and this 50-minute window. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just take over the next page. This is my last page I've made of my wonderful workout. So we have 2 hours to do the exam, like we said. 15 minutes reading time. The reading time is stuff that we need to look for. In other words, a short circuit one. Short circuit with the graph. Voltage drop. Is it a maximum demand, or is it a cable size that we're being given? Voltage drop, maximum demand. Have we been given a commercial one? Commercial being on C2, domestic on C1. Then we've got DC circuits. Most failed question. Not to do this one straight away. Do that towards the end. And then we have cable selection, AM3008 tables. So the first thing I always say when guys start the question, the reason we start with this question is it's Ohm's law. We don't need to look up any tables, okay? The tables are in our head. We do Ohm's law. The most hardest part we've got is V over I times R. Simple Ohm's law calculation, still in your calculation. The only thing it'll bring you undone here if you don't take it to 5 decimal places. The next one, short circuit calculation on the graph, you've only got to rule a line down, right? Do some dividing and mark the graph up, okay? That would probably be the simplest question, but then a lot of people can't get it quite right. The next one, voltage drop, we move to our 3008 tables. Table 45, 46 and 47 if they're copper, and then we've got the other three if they're aluminium. Following. But most of the time, that is a straightforward question. Laid on the table with the formulas found in the 3008 book. All right, in under voltage drop, there's two formulas there. You can't go wrong with it. It's very simple. All right, put the values in, do your multiplications and whatever you have to do with the formula, you're done. The next one, maximum demand. If you don't know how to read the tables well, you can fold up. They've now provided you with a table to follow through. You put your load down, calculation, and you work your way through that. Nice and simple, but at least out of that being there, you can't get it all wrong because you only lose marks on parts that you don't get right. Ohm's law, well, I can tell you now, I spend 99% of my time teaching and redoing this with guys. I've done some examples online there for you guys to have a look at, but people need to learn this back to front. There's no book for you to look at. It's all up in your head. The next one we got is cable selection. All right. Now, cable selection is the last one I get to do because you've got 3.1 to 3.4 at the front of the book, and then you've got 17 tables. You've got derating tables. You've got a lot of stuff in there that makes up for a hard. Look, it's probably just as hard as what doing voltage drop is, but at the same time. Now, don't forget also voltage drop has no deratings applying to it. All right. All the deratings are around in this area here. Once we've done that, we do that in a 50-minute window. If you're really comfortable, you should get all that done in 50 minutes. All right. Now, if you take longer, up to an hour, that's not so bad, but you need to be practicing in your exams to get these done in an hour. The bulk of your marks are done in this. Then you go into visual faults. Then you go into your 5 AS3000 questions, and then you move down through all the other ones. If you're going to get, things wrong in here, it'll be because you didn't put the unit numbers down or didn't show formulas. Constantly a repeating thing in here is, and it does say in the questions, obtain full marks, all things must be shown. So as I said, voltage drop, maximum demand, table C1, C2, people not reading the question if it did have air conditioning or not air conditioning. Ohm's law, like I said, there's a lot wrong in this one. And then cable selection, all right? I'm going to show you some of the questions there later on how some of the answers should be laid out. But what I'll do now is we'll just leave it at that and we'll move on.